Welcome to Notebook Nuggets.
Great to be diving in again.
So, you know how some ideas or trends just seem to explode out of nowhere?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You kind of see something bubbling away and then bam, it's suddenly everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Well, today we're diving deep into Malcolm Gladwell's The Tipping Point. This came up because, well, a lot of you were curious about this exact thing.
It's a great question.
Yeah, so our mission today is really to unpack his framework for, understanding these sudden surges and figure out what makes an idea catch on like wildfire.
And Gladwell does give us a really compelling way to think about it. He talks about this tipping point,
Right.
that sort of magic moment when an idea or a trend or even a social behavior, it crosses some kind of threshold, tips, and then just spreads.
Like an epidemic, he says. He uses that analogy of water turning into ice, right?
Exactly. It stays liquid all the way down until 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 Celsius, and then bang, solid.
Such a tiny change, but a massive shift in the state itself.
It really makes you think, what are those 32-degree moments for social trends?
Yeah.
And he gives a more concrete example, too, with Hush Puppies shoes.
Oh, yeah. I remember reading about that. They were kind of gone, weren't they?
Pretty much, yeah. And then suddenly, mid-90s, they have this incredible comeback, like from a few small shops to being absolutely everywhere in just a couple of years.
Wild. What was that about?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Why those shoes? Why then? That's the puzzle he's trying to solve.
Okay, so what are the main ingredients then? What drives these social epidemics, according to him?
He argues they really do spread like viruses, and he boils it down to 3 key principles. He calls them the 3 rules of epidemic.
Okay, 3 rules. Let's take the first one. The law of the few. What's that?
So this one's all about people. It suggests that these epidemics rely heavily on a pretty small group of specific kinds of individuals, people who are just exceptionally good at spreading the message. He calls them super infectors.
Super infectors. Okay, so not just anyone. These people have special social skills or something.
Yeah, basically. He identifies 3 types. First, you've got connectors.
Connect.
These are the folks with massive, diverse social networks. They just know tons of people from all different walks of life, all different circles.
Ah, the hubs.
Yeah.
The people who seem to know everybody.
Exactly. They're like social glue, bridging different worlds and spreading information far and wide. They have reach.
Got it. Okay, so connectors spread it wide. Who's next?
Next up are the mavens.
Mavens. Okay.
Now, mavens aren't necessarily the ones with the biggest address books. Their power is knowledge. They are information specialists. They love gathering data, understanding things deeply.
Right. The person you ask when you need the real scoop on something, the best gadget, the best book.
Precisely. They do the homework, and people trust their recommendations because they know their stuff. They're information brokers, really.
Yeah. Okay. So mavens provide the substance, the information. Connectors spread it. What's the third type?
The third type within this law of the few is the salesperson.
Salespeople. Okay. That sounds obvious, but I guess it's more than just literal selling.
Oh, yeah, much more. These are individuals who are just naturally persuasive. They have charisma, an ability to make you believe, to influence your opinions, your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about knowing the facts like the maven or spreading the word like the connector. It's about making the message compelling, making people actually want to adopt it.
That makes a lot of sense. You need someone to actually close the deal, so to speak, even if the deal is just adopting an idea.
Exactly. They package the information from the mavens, use the networks of the connectors, and then they persuade.
And Gladwell links this back to the Hush Puppies thing too, doesn't he? Like a few key fashion figures who acted as maybe mavens and salespeople.
Yeah, he suggests some early adopters had both the knowledge, maven-like, and the influence, salesperson-like, to create that initial buzz.
You can see this online too, right? Like with some YouTube channels that explode.
Absolutely. Think about, say, a channel summarizing books. The creator might be a bit of a maven on the topic. Viewers who are connectors might share it widely. And the presenter's style, their way of explaining things, that's the salesperson aspect, persuading you it's worth watching, worth learning.
That's a really clear way to see it working now. Okay, so that's the law of the key people. What's rule number 2?
Rule number 2 is the stickiness factor.
Stickiness, okay.
This one's about the message itself. What is it about the idea or the product or the story that makes it actually memorable, makes it, well, stick in your mind?
So it's not just who says it, but what they're saying and how well it grabs you.
Exactly. And what makes something sticky isn't always what you'd think. It's not always the most complex or original idea.
Really?
Yeah, Gladwell talks about different things that help, like uniqueness, maybe aesthetics, how it connects to stuff we already know. Is it engaging? Is it high quality? Does it let us express something about ourselves? Is it useful? Does it trigger nostalgia? Maybe personification helps, even cost. Lots of potential factors.
That's quite a list. It sounds like finding stickiness can be subtle.
Totally. And sometimes simple tweaks make a huge difference. He gives that great example from Sesame Street.
Oh, right, with the words on the Muppets.
Yeah, they found that just changing where they put the words on the screen, putting them behind the Muppets instead of next to them, made kids pay way more attention.
Wow. Same content, just a small presentation change.
Exactly. The message became stickier for the kids just because of that one little adjustment. It shows you don't always need a whole new idea. Sometimes you just need to package it better.
And it highlights the need to experiment, doesn't it? You can't always guess what will stick.
Absolutely critical. You often have to try things out, see what resonates, what people remember, what actually changes their behavior. Trial and error is key.
Okay, so we have the few, the people, and stickiness, the message. What's the third rule?
The third rule is the power of context.
Context.
Mhm.
The environment.
Exactly. The idea here is that the surrounding circumstances, the environment, the timing, they all play a crucial role. You can have the right people and a sticky message, but if the context isn't right, it just might fizzle out.
Like trying to light a fire in the rain.
Perfect analogy. Gladwell famously used the huge drop in crime in New York City in the early 90s as an example here.
Right, the broken windows theory connection.
Initially, a lot of focus was put on initiatives like cleaning up graffiti, cracking down on minor stuff like fare evasion or public drinking.
The idea being that tackling small signs of disorder prevents bigger crimes from taking root because it signals that someone is paying attention.
That was the dominant theory, yes. Fix the broken windows, change the environment's message, and serious crime might fall.
And it seemed to work, didn't it? Crime did drop dramatically.
It did, but,
Yeah.
well, this is where it gets a bit more complicated, and it's something Gladwell himself reflected on later.
Okay. So the initial story wasn't the whole picture?
Not quite. Later analysis, and even court cases like Floyd v. City of New York, which challenged the NYPD's stop and frisk policy, a key tactic often linked to broken windows.
Right.
Well, after those practices were curtailed, crime actually continued to fall even further in many cases.
Oh, interesting. So the aggressive focus on minor infractions wasn't necessarily the magic bullet it was made out to be.
It suggests it wasn't the primary driver, or at least not in the way it was often implemented. It seems other factors were also hugely important, and perhaps a more targeted approach to policing was more effective than widespread stops based on minor issues.
So context matters, but figuring out exactly which aspects of the context are crucial and how interventions actually work can be really tricky.
Exactly. Correlation isn't causation, as you said earlier. And Gladwell acknowledged this later, regretting he hadn't perhaps considered the negative impacts of that style of policing on certain communities, or presented the broken windows explanation as quite so definitive initially.
It's a good reminder that even compelling explanations need to be revisited as we learn more. The context itself evolves.
Absolutely. The environment includes social factors, economic trends, policy changes. It's complex.
Okay, so wrapping it all up then. For an idea to really tip, Gladwell says you basically need these three things firing together. The law of the few.
The right messengers, connectors, mavens, salespeople.
The stickiness factor.
A message that's memorable and impactful in some way.
And the power of context.
The right time, the right place, the right conditions for it all to catch on.
It's really the combination, the synergy, that creates that sudden surge.
Yeah, that seems to be the core argument. One piece missing and it might not happen.
So, as you can see, thinking about why some things explode in popularity is this really fascinating mix of people, the message itself, and the world around it. Gladwell's framework and the tipping point just gives you a great lens for looking at that.
Definitely makes you notice things differently.
Yeah, think about the connectors, mavens, and salespeople you know. Think about what makes messages stick for you, and what context might be needed for an idea you care about to maybe reach its own tipping point. Lots to chew on there.
Indeed.
Well, if you found these insights valuable today, please do like, comment, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into compelling ideas.
See you next time.